Hello, everybody. It's Thursday. You know what that means. Africa Thrive Live. Welcome. My name is Naomi Kirungu. In case you haven't interacted with us before, with AMI African Management Institute, and I'll be your host today. So in Nairobi, I am in Nairobi. The weather cannot decide whether it is hot or cold. So I'm here with coffee, trying to cheer myself up. But I'd like to hear from you in case this is the first time you're joining us, or if you're our usual veterans, please give me a wave and a shout out. Tell us what's your name, what business do you do, and where are you tuned in from? I'd like to get to read and hear more about you. Yeah, so in case this is your very first time interacting with AMI, allow me to introduce us to you. So AMI, African Management Institute, we exist to enable ambitious businesses from across the continent to thrive. And when this pandemic hit the continent around late March, we knew we needed to act fast because SMEs are at the core of our business. And I remember in Kenya, our central bank and so many other reports, our central bank did a report and said 75% of SMEs face imminent collapse, like as soon as COVID hit. So we knew we needed to act fast, and we rolled out programs which are free and continue to do that. They are free or highly subsidized, and there are programs that you could take advantage of even right now because there's still so much value. Even as economic activities across the continent, things are opening up, we are resuming. So we have the AMI Business Survival Boot Camps, and those we have run for a while now. We've trained over 1,000 SMEs from 33 different countries. So the one you're seeing on your screen is the Financial Forecasting and Cost Management Bootcamp, which really helps you think of cash flow, something that's very critical now. I know I've been talking to SMEs, and a lot of clients and people are sort of holding on to cash. So we take you through your cash flow management, as well as scenario planning, which helps you think of possible next steps for your business. Yeah. So the second boot camp, we have these boot camps, like I said, we have two options that you can choose from. So it's a 2-week program that's available for free, and we have two options or two tracks. So you can do the cash flow management one, or you can do this one that's on your screen now, the Business Survival Bootcamp Retool and Adapt and Retool, which is around innovating for the new normal. And we help you think whether you're trying to reach new customers, adopting your product or business model, or just planning to reopen. We really help you to think through your customers, and we'll spend a huge chunk of today's conversation on customers, so that there's that, our boot camps. And then the second thing we have is the Survive to Thrive program, and we have exciting news. So for those who don't know Survive to Thrive, it's a build-up of the boot camps where it's a 6-month program, and we take you through other topics other than what you cover on the boot camps. We look at adapting your operations, we look at managing your teams, we look at your strategy and planning in more in depth, we look at your finances and in more in depth, we look at your customers and markets more in depth, and equip you with practical tools. So thanks to our financial partners, we're now able to offer this program. We have a few slots available at a fully paid scholarship. Yeah, you heard me right. A fully paid scholarship for up to 3 members of your team. So you come, we equip you with practical tools for 6 months, and really help you, whether this situation has brought opportunities for your business, or whether you've really had to re-strategize your business because you are adversely affected. This program is for you. So applications for the scholarships opened yesterday, yeah, and they're open until July 10th. So and we have very limited slots available, so please apply for a full scholarship into the program. Yeah. And then the third, which is one of my favorites, the Rise Meditation and Reflection series that we have. We are very fortunate to have one of our co-founders who is also a psychologist. So he designed meditation sessions particularly for entrepreneurs, because we know we are carrying so many responsibilities, and this is available on our mobile app. So it's such a fantastic way to start your dates. How I start my dates, really, meditation, in case you haven't tried it, is a very, very good way to sort of something that anchors you during this time. It's amazing. You could sign on to that on our app. And then the fourth is our weekly newsletter, Thrive. So we have a team that sits, we put together resources, funding opportunities, any relevant news out there for the continent, for SMEs. We put it there on our newsletter and we send it out every single week. Yeah. And then last but definitely not least are these conversations that we have every Thursday, Africa Thrive Live. And they happen, whatever, if you're watching this live, the time it is wherever you are, this is when it happens. Yeah. So we have them, it's 12 noon East Africa time, every single Thursday. And what you could do if you're watching us live, just subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on Facebook, click that notification button. And I am pleased to welcome LinkedIn people on board. So if you're watching us from LinkedIn, please give us a shout out and introduce yourself, because today we launched on LinkedIn. So we are really excited. So if you want to find out any of those programs that I've mentioned, feel free to go to our website, africanmanagers.org/together, and you'll be able to see all those things I've talked about and all the ways in which we are supporting entrepreneurs. Yeah. So I'd like to get to read your comments. Let me see if I can get some up about where you're tuned in from. So I see on YouTube we have Ilse Wells. She is from South Africa. Sound Architectures, welcome. I see we have a few people on Facebook. Let's see. I see we have Michelle Iera. She says, nice to join. She's a student from University of Pretoria. So you're welcome. She's joining us from LinkedIn. It's good to see we have LinkedIn people on board. So continue to write to us. I see we have Barack Odhiambo. He's a self-drive taxi driver on YouTube. Yeah, I think this is a great conversation we're having today. Welcome, Barack. So today we are talking about something that I'm very passionate about, and I believe is at the core of every business, because at the core of every business is our customers. That's the core. Our revenues come from our customers or our markets or whatever you choose to call it. Yeah. And if there's one thing that this situation we are in has taught me is when our customers are distracted, we as entrepreneurs are disrupted. And I think now more than ever, we need to get to know our customers. We need to know what their needs are. What do they want? What don't they want? In an attempt to sort of build a solid relationship with them, and for them to feel understood and heard. And I think what we've seen a lot of businesses do, which I think our business has as well, and is a great thing, is a lot of businesses have moved online. But the struggle I'm having with that is moving online, I don't think is only a means. Yeah, it's not necessarily the end. I think the end for us as entrepreneurs should be a satisfied customer. And moving online now is great, it's needed, but I think we should really strive to go further than that and understand our customers. Other than the fact that they've moved online, what else is there? We need to understand them so that we can be able to sort of maintain our revenues or grow our revenues. And for us to do that, I think we need to become, I don't know who says this, but he says, become obsessed with the customer. Yeah. So I think we need to become obsessed with them more than we are obsessed with moving online. Yeah. So I want us to talk about that topic today. And I'd like to get to hear from you. Yeah. So please write to me and tell me, what has your experience been during this time, trying to maintain your revenues or trying to grow your revenues in whatever business you're doing? Have you moved online? What else have you done other than moving online to be able to sort of maintain your revenues? How are you connecting with your customers? Have you talked to them? What are you learning? Have you had to move sort of from a different model to say B2C or very retail, or we are dealing one-on-one with customers? How has that been? I really want to get to read your experience so that even when we are talking to we bring in the experts, we sort of are speaking to the situations on the ground. Yeah. So please write to us and tell me, what has your experience been? I'd love to read and hear from you. Yeah. So I thought to host this conversation, I should invite a co-host who has really been at the forefront of us supporting SMEs. So we have, like I said before, supported thousands through these platforms, our newsletter and these lives. We've reached over 11,000 entrepreneurs. But through our boot camps, where we go in depth, where we do the 2-week programs, we've trained over 1,000 SMEs. And my co-host and colleague Diederik has been the facilitator for our boot camps, and I thought it would be good to bring him on board to sort of bring the experience he has had or seen from working with over 1,000 entrepreneurs, so that he tells us what has he seen is working, not working when it comes to maintaining our revenues or growing our revenues and thinking about our customers. So help me welcome my co-host and colleague. He's the country manager in Rwanda, Diederik Wokke. So help me welcome Diederik. Let me add him.
Hi, Naomi. Thank you so much.
Hi, Diederik. Maybe you could introduce yourself in context of this conversation we have today.
Yes, of course. So indeed, as Naomi mentioned, I am the country manager for the African Management Institute in Rwanda. Also a business owner myself with a side business. And when the crisis hit, we started thinking about what's important for our business owners to know. What are people really looking for right now? And one of the things that we developed is indeed around how do you understand your customers? What has changed, and how can you as a business respond to that? And we designed 2 different curricula for them, and I've been very lucky to be able to facilitate most of those and speak to so many entrepreneurs out there who were struggling and who needed tips and help on how to get through this time.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Diederik. And I think it's so African for us to introduce. We always have side hustles. I don't know if it's an African thing or a global thing, but I think it's African where
it's more
go
African than global, I'd say.
Yeah, I think we all have sort of side hustles and main hustles. So it's good that you'll be bringing in your experience. And maybe, Diederik, you can tell us quickly before we bring the other guests. So how exactly, in regards to this topic, how exactly is AMI supporting entrepreneurs to think about their customers other than moving online? How is AMI sort of helping people think about their customers in this new normal?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. And I think as business owners, we very often see our customers as someone with whom we have a very transactional relationship. They come into the shop, they buy something from us, and that's it. And I think what we sometimes not fully understand and leverage is the fact that we also have a much more personal relationship. And especially in a time like this, our customers are very willing to help. They realize that everybody's struggling, and they think, we'll be able to help where we can. One of the main things to do that is to reach out to your customers very proactively and ask them, what has changed for you? What sort of situation are you in now? And how does my business fit in? And so within the programs that we do at AMI, we look at how do you reach out to your customers in the best way possible. So what channels can you use, but also importantly, what questions do you ask? Because very often as business owners, we think very much we have a product and we want to know if our customers want to buy that. So for example, I sell food in a restaurant. I want to know if my customers actually want to eat my food. But when we're thinking about change, when we're thinking about different ways of dealing with our customers, just asking them, would you buy this product, isn't going to give us the answers that we want, because everybody will say, yeah, sure, maybe, or they'll just be positive because we like them. So instead of asking those type of questions, you need to think about what problem was my company, what problem was my business solving for my customer? And now that the world has changed and we're adapting to a new normal, what is a new problem that my customer might face that with the knowledge and experience I have, I can now solve for my customer? So it's a very different way of thinking. It's a different way of looking at your customer, but it is very much a starting point for every time that you pivot your business, every time that you make a big change. So it's that obsession with your customer, yes, but not the obsession with what they want to buy, but the obsession with what's the problem that you're solving for them. And the AMI program helps you ask those type of questions and think in that way with regards to your customer.
I like that. And when you've said customers are willing to help, I don't know where I read it, but I read that customers are more empathetic. And I think that's true, even as a personal level. These days, I find myself sort of wanting to buy local brands. When I go to a store or when I'm buying something, I'm trying to sort of support the person just in some sort of way. If it's local, I want to buy it to sort of support businesses.
Yes.
So I like that even customers, we should not just think of customers as the person who will buy my end product. They are really much involved in building it. I like that. And maybe you could tell us, so you've interacted with thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, Diederik, and from your experience, what have you seen the entrepreneurs who are able to sort of successfully retain or maintain their revenues or even grow them? What is it they get right when it comes to customers?
So I think, so the answer I have there is probably not an answer that people want to hear. They want to hear that there's a quick fix that you can advertise on Facebook using these and these search terms and you'll get your customers back. What I've actually realized is that the people that are able to get through this crisis best and retain their customers in the best way possible are those that are able to sit down and very critically look at themselves, very critically look at the business that they're in and think about, okay, so this is my starting point. What is it where I want to go? And what is it where my customers are able to take me? And then from there, start thinking about the solutions that they can offer, the resources that they have, and really are able to ask the hard questions. I think the businesses that we saw that failed the most are those that when crisis hit, just assumed, well, we've got a 2-week lockdown that's announced. It's like taking a 2-week holiday. After that, everything will be back to normal and I'll be perfect. And those are the type of businesses that are very unfortunately, most of them went under. But the businesses that sat down and thought, oh my God, what if it's not going to be 2 weeks? What if it's going to be 3 months? What if my customers are never going to come back? What if, all my worst fears that you have when you wake up in the middle of the night, and I think as business owners, we all wake up in the middle of the night sweating and thinking, oh, help. And if you're able to, as I said, like sit down, look yourself in the mirror and write down those fears and then start thinking about ways to action them, your business has a very high chance of surviving. And you're able to think about your customers in the same way, your cash flow and everything else. And I think that's really hard work. That's very complicated too. It's very scary, but it is what gives you the highest chance, I would say, of success towards the future.
Yeah, and we do give you the tools, right, in the bootcamp. So do
exactly.
Yeah, the tools to think through them. So if you haven't done the bootcamps, absolutely free. Please sign up. Not now, after this session.
No, exactly. So one of the main things around one of the bootcamps we have is around scenario planning. So how do you ask yourself those difficult questions and give responses to them? Yes. Sorry, Naomi, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no problem. So Diederik, I'd like to bring your wealth of experience with the guests that we have today. So I want to invite a few more guests to help us speak to this. And before I do that, like I said before, I want to read some few comments around people's experience. So let me check if there's any has come in, and continue to write to us in regards to your customers or your revenues. I see Ilse says, we have taken time to connect with our businesses, to partners, and from large expert teams with diverse practical backgrounds, support through collaboration. Yeah, like we had a live that someone said, competition is dead and collaboration is now alive. So we had such a conversation a few weeks ago. So it's good to read your comments. Continue to keep them coming. Tell us, what has your experience been? What are you thinking? All those crazy ideas that you're thinking, is this a good idea? Should I do this? Should I not? Please write to us and tell us, when it comes to maintaining your revenue or customers, what are you doing? So let me add our guests. We have Britt White. He's the CEO of Zapper. And Zapper is a mobile payments, customer insight, digital loyalty and marketing platform based in South Africa. So let me see if I could add Brett on.
Hi, Naomi.
Hello, hi, Brett.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit more about you and your business.
Sure. So you pretty much summed it up there. Zapper is a contactless payments and loyalty platform. So, pertinent, very, very pertinent to the conversation that you and Diederik were just having with regards to the value proposition that we provide is twofold. One, to our consumers, out there, you give them a seamless, easy way to make payments in the market and to be able to get benefits off of those transactions through loyalty and vouchering. From a merchant's perspective, we're providing them a really low cost solution to be able to take contactless payments and to be able to facilitate loyalty and vouchering through the customer insights that's baked into our platform, so that they get an opportunity to understand who their consumers are and be able to leverage that understanding through our platform.
Yeah, that's quite exciting, and we look forward to getting to know who are the partners out there that we can work with to sort of leverage as entrepreneurs. So let me add our third guest, Mimi Ade-Odiachi. So Mimi is the CEO of Omar Gardens, and she's actually a participant in our Survive to Thrive program. And Mimi has been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. Yeah, she's based in Nigeria, and she'll tell us more about her business. I think she comes with so much wisdom, and the fact that she has tried, how has she tried to sort of retain or grow her revenues. So help me welcome Mimi on. Hello, Mimi. Good morning. Please tell us a bit more about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Mimi Ade-Odiachi, and I am the CEO of Omar Gardens. Omar Gardens does garden design, landscaping, selling of plants, and everything consultancy, everything to do with gardens. And we've been doing this for 30 years, over 30 years. And COVID has been a very interesting time. I inherited the business from my mother, or I took it over from my mother. She started the business. And we're excited about what is happening now, because there are all sorts of new opportunities, even at this time.
Yeah. Thank you, Mimi. And I think you'll bring in an important perspective, which is an actual entrepreneur's perspective in terms of what has your experience been trying to maintain or grow your revenues. And I know you've sort of moved from corporate to retail, and you'll tell us more about how that experience has been. Is moving online easy? What are the challenges and all that? So we'll talk more. Let me introduce my final guest, last but not least, Tania Habimana. So Tania is the head of digital strategy and content at Nonzero Africa, which is based in South Africa. She's a Rwandan entrepreneur. She's very passionate about digital innovation and SME development, and she has so many accolades. Her bio is just full of accolades. Help me welcome Tania.
Hi, Naomi. Thank you so much.
Hey. Yeah, Tania, please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit more about yourself and Nonzero.
Thank you very much. So Nonzero, I'm the co-founder of Nonzero, and what we do is we help entrepreneurs and SMEs across the continent grow. We do that in two ways. On the one hand, we provide digital marketing services, so it's pretty much a digital marketing agency that will help these SMEs along their journey. And on the other hand, we partner with large corporations, institutions to create programs that will help these SMEs and entrepreneurs grow.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tania. And so it's good that we have a diverse team. So Diederik will talk about his experience, as well as Mimi and Brett from the payment plans perspective, and Tania from the digital perspective. So let's just start off, Brett and Tania, and then I'll give it to you, Diederik. What has your experience been? Whoever can go first. How are entrepreneurs sort of maintaining or growing their revenues? What's working? What's not working? What are you seeing? Yeah.
I'm happy to jump in, Tania, unless you want to. Sure. So look, I think what entrepreneurs are needing to do over this period is really have a hard look at their expenses. I think first and foremost to make sure that they're operating efficiently and leveraging solutions that are available to them. I mean, you mentioned it earlier about there's a lot of hype around suddenly becoming an e-commerce business or going online, and that's going to solve every problem. But that's not necessarily how it's going to work. I think what businesses should be looking to do is leverage online services. There's a lot of really good software as a service companies and products out there that you can leverage to improve your business and operate more efficiently, and look for ways to solve problems given the context of the COVID-19 pandemic right now. So, not to toot our own horn, or I'm obviously going to use this platform to mention it, but we offer contactless payments, and that is a way to provide customers a way not to have to touch a pin entry device. That is expensive for a business to run. If you have a pin entry device, it's very expensive. You have to rent it, and you pay exorbitant fees on processing, etc. And then you would have to have other ways of understanding who your customers are and leveraging that information. So, that as an example. I mean, there's tons of other things. From accounting systems to ways to distribute your product, etc. To take transactions via an e-commerce portal. You name it, the logistics around all of it. There's so many different services that you can subscribe to online that are really cost effective, that could really help a business to run more efficiently and keep their overheads low.
Yeah, and I'll actually build on this,
Okay.
and 100%.
Tania?
Sorry, can you hear me? Yes. So I agree with what Brett was saying. Digital shouldn't be used as the end. Not every business can become an e-commerce business, a digital business. However, and this is where I get excited about the time that we're in now, businesses should look to digital technology as a tool that they can incorporate in their existing business models. With our clients, what we've been doing is we've been asking them to rethink their business by asking them 4 questions. So the first one is how, looking at your process, your logistics, your internal operations, and seeing what in the operations can you change, can you improve to make sure that it's in line with the times that we're in now. And when you think of things like this, there's been companies here in South Africa that have done this really well. So I'm thinking, for example, NetFlowers, which is an online flower delivery service, who, when they look at their internal operations, they can see that their logistics is very robust. And instead of delivering flowers, because when we're in lockdown, you're not really going to be delivering flowers, they then pivoted to delivering essential goods. So that's one of the ways. The second way is asking yourself where are you selling your products? So your distribution. Is there an area within your distribution that you can innovate, that you can apply technology, that you can change to make sure that you become more effective in this time? Third question is who do you actually sell to? And in this time, I've seen businesses, for example, hoteliers, hotel owners, move from selling to consumers, because obviously many countries have been in lockdown, so they're no longer selling to consumers, but they're now selling to governments for quarantine facilities. And then the fourth question is what? Your actual product. Is there an area within your product that you can actually innovate, change to suit the times that we're in now? And I think by asking these 4 questions and really diving in, and like Diederik said earlier, taking a critical look at your operations and your business, business owners and entrepreneurs will be able to really get new ideas that will help them navigate this season.
Yeah, I like that, Tania. So you said it's just take us through those 4 again. It's the what?
So it's
just high level.
How, where, who, and what.
How, where. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Mimi, maybe you could come in and just speak about your experience, and then Diederik, you'll take it away. How has your experience been as an entrepreneur trying to sustain your revenues? What have you done? And how has that journey been?
Okay, so we locked down in Lagos, in Nigeria, at the end of March. And our main stay for income is maintenance, garden maintenance. We go into people's yards and we clean up, and we have contracts. And then landscaping business. So we had designs that had been approved, and we're just waiting for the sites to be ready for us to start the work. So we're on that negotiation stage. And so April, with the lockdown, we knew that we wouldn't be sending out any invoices because our gardeners could not get to any locations. And we also knew that construction sites had closed down. So for the month of April, we knew that there was no income coming in. So we started thinking, and it was like, okay, we're going to retain the staff, we will pay the staff, but what can we do? So we started unbundling. So I now realize that after the lockdown, people are going to need emergency yard services because they wouldn't have had anybody coming in. So we started doing bundles, garden tidy bundles. And then I now thought, okay, and then I also looked at how we could reduce cost. And then I also now thought, how could we also earn money during this period? Now, because I was at home, I took an interest in my garden again because I was too busy to look at it. So I started looking at it critically, and I was like, I'm sure I'm not the only one doing this. And I realized that we have a nursery, but our nursery wasn't for retail. Our nursery was for our projects. So it was just to keep plants so that easy, difficult to grow plants and exotic plants, so that when we have a project, we don't have to keep looking for difficult to find plants. They're readily available. So I started looking at the nursery, and I was like, we need to do retail because these jobs are not going to come in. And we have this nursery, we have the plants. And so it was now transiting to selling to individuals rather than to businesses or to projects. And I now realized that. So I now realized that, we had to redesign the entire nursery. We already had an online presence, but our online presence talked more about our maintenance and our projects. People didn't really know that we sold plants, or we had plants available to sell. So we're still on the journey. We haven't quite arrived yet, but we've started. We've rearranged the entire nursery, did a lot of housekeeping, made it safe and comfortable for people, with all the social distancing and the hygiene. So we've made it safe so that when you come in, you don't feel that you are at risk. And we're promoting it as like a wellness center. Even if you're not buying anything, come and just sit down with nature and enjoy the space. So that's what we've done, and it's been interesting.
Yeah, it will be nice to know what your experiences are as we go on. Diederik, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, thank you, Naomi. Actually, Mimi, I had a bit of a follow-up question to what you're saying, because you're mentioning a lot of new and innovative products that you're rolling out towards customers. In what way did you test or try out if there was demand for these new solutions that you were providing?
Okay, so social media has been very, very helpful. So I went on Instagram, and it was like, who is interested in plants? Just have some conversation around plants. And because everybody was at home, people had time to sit on their phones. And so there was a lot of interest. There was a lot of dialogue. People were even wanting to know if we could deliver plants even during the total lockdown. So we had like semi-orders, waiting to be processed by the time the lockdown was lifted. So that was really, really good. So Instagram was the main channel that people responded to, because we tried Facebook, we tried other channels, but Instagram was our go-to. And I think because of the images. So once people can see an image, they can relate with it. And also because people were working from home, they were looking at their spaces, because most times we leave home in the morning, we come back, in the evening and it's to bed. But people were now conscious about their spaces and wanted to, something different, even if it was a plant on the table, just something. We were not buying clothes, we were not buying shoes, we were not buying makeup. So it was like, what can I have in my space that will make me, some people would even ask, I need a plant to talk to. I'm really tired of staying on my own. So those are the kind of conversations we were having.
Yeah, I think that's great to hear. And I love the two things you say there, like the conversations you were having with your customers. So really not just asking one question, but having that back and forth and seeing some orders already coming in. I mean, obviously that's the best proof of a new concept, actually seeing money coming in, orders coming in.
Very exciting.
Yes, it sounds very exciting. I think that's great. And another question I had both for you, Brett, and for Tania is, you're talking about changing to contactless payments. You're talking about moving towards using more digital solutions. But I can imagine that, for many business owners there, those are quite scary transitions. So if people are scared of these type of, moving digitally, what would you say to them?
Wow. I'm not actually sure what I'd say to them. I mean, I think it's not to sound cliche, but it's the way of the future. There's a lot of solutions that are available to you that you can utilize if you just take the plunge. And a lot of them give you, trial periods that are, you get 30 days free trial. You can test them out, you can give them a go. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you can cancel it anytime. So there's a lot of that where you can take the fear out of that transition or that step, just purely by virtue of the fact that they're not tying you into any long-term commitments. So at least you can sample it, give it a go, see if it helps you in any way. If it doesn't, and the reality is that most of the solutions that are out there, it's not only one. There's multiple that you can choose to use. So that would I think be my advice to them, is to just give it a try. Obviously, try not to avoid binding yourself into long-term contracts if you're not yet comfortable with it. Be very mindful of that. But for the most part, a lot of them, give you that easy exit out of it if there's any intrepidation around signing up for something.
Okay, that's a good solution. Trying things out and using free trials where you can. Tania, do you have anything you want to add, or do you have a different view?
No, I have a similar view. It's funny that you asked that question. It's been my battle for the last 4 years. Of 80% of our clients for the last 4 years before COVID saw digital as there's digital marketing and then there's the business, and those two are separate things. And for 4 years, we were like, no, there's more. And COVID just proved. COVID was our greatest argument. But what I do recommend to our clients is the great thing about digital communications, digital things, is that a lot of it is online available. So, I send them videos. I do online workshops and webinars almost every month. I tell my clients, take it one step at a time and try it out, learn about it, because a lot of the times the fear comes from just not understanding it, not using it yourself as a consumer. So I just try to ease them in, send them links, send them videos, just a webinar such as this, a talk such as this, them being exposed to people, entrepreneurs such as Mimi, who are using these technologies, will help them ease into it.
Great. I think that's understand. Try it out for yourself personally as well. I really like that. I think that's important. And that's something that we often forget. If we don't use any Instagram or Facebook ourselves, then how can we use it professionally in our business? I think that's a very valid point. I have hundreds of questions more that I would love to ask you, but this is not my show. So I think Naomi has one question before we hand over to the audience to ask their questions as well.
Yeah, so I know the questions are coming. Diederik, there's a question here around so a lot of businesses are doing, have gone sort of on a preservation mode generally, like holding cash, unfortunately letting go of staff. And so as economies slowly open up and some normalcy, quote unquote, resumes, what do you think entrepreneurs can do strategically going forward that's more long term, that sort of defines the future? Mimi, Brett, Tania.
Okay. I'm happy to jump in at this stage. So I think it kind of ties in with what I said earlier. It's around overheads. I mean, I think of even our business over this period. We service a lot of businesses that have been affected by the lockdown. So a lot of them have been shut down since the stage 5 in South Africa kicked off. And what we did was, the night that was basically announced, it was actually the week before the lockdown kicked off that we as a business decided to start working remotely. What it has done is it's really highlighted and we're into our week, we're almost at the end of week 16 for Zapper, working remotely. And what it has highlighted for us anyway is that, traditional businesses, how you operate your businesses, you have to have offices and all those perks and etc. That happens in that type of environment. If you look at how effective your business has been as a fully remote business where people are working from home. I mean, this isn't really working from home. This is more like house arrest, I think, really is what the experience has been. You haven't been able to pop out to the coffee shop to get a bit of a break or go for a walk, especially during those first couple of weeks. But I think that it has certainly pushed people to challenge assumptions around what overheads need to be part of running a business. And I think that that's something that is certainly a good lesson to take away from all of this is just to think about maybe there's some ways to challenge assumptions around how a business needs to be run and what expenses the business actually needs to incur on a monthly basis.
Yeah. Mimi, what are you doing more strategically aligned to that based on what you've learned or what are you thinking more long term to do?
This has forced us to look at costs, and as Brett said, that's where it starts from. So we've been, I look at, things I would have let go in the past. I look at, I'm a nitpicker, so I pick at every expense. And then where we had contracts and I could, reduce the cost of the service providers, I've done that. We've reviewed a lot of contracts, and we said, you just, if you want to continue working with us, you just have to absorb like a 25% cut. And then I've also looked at our prices so that we are attractive to a wider range of people. And like I said, bundles, so have plant starter pack where you can have like 3 or 4 plants for the price of 2. You understand? So a starter unkillable plant bundle, and have, attractive packages like that to encourage people to buy, because everybody wants to hold on to cash at this time, because this thing doesn't have an end date. I like what Brett said, it's house arrest. It's not working from home. So when you have an end date, you know that, okay, this thing is going to end. Whoever thought that in July would still be like this, So now we're looking at September. Okay, so we're looking at, Q4, so everybody wants to hold on to cash. So it's like encouraging people to spend money and get value for the money they're spending. And then have we have little plans for like as little as $3, $5, so that people don't feel that, so that amount that you'd have spent on a cup of coffee at the coffee shop, you're willing to spend on a plant that will enhance your well-being.
Yeah. Tania, do you want to add to that?
Yes, I absolutely love everything that Mimi is doing. And completely aligned with that. What I've been saying and what we've been doing in our own business is we're all about relationship. And Naomi, you mentioned it at the beginning of the conversation, our core is our customers. So I've been telling our clients that they must think to themselves, how can we as a business make our clients' life easier? And the minute you have that, you start to provide services and products that they actually want and need, irrespective of the current climate. What it looks like practically. So there's a beauty company that I personally use. And what they do is they send reminders. So they know that if I get my nails done today and my eyebrows waxed, in 3 weeks, I'll need my nails. In 4 weeks, I'll need my eyebrows. So proactively, they approach me as opposed to waiting for me to come as a client. So what that does is they are creating recurring revenue proactively. And if we extend that, it actually looks like a subscription model. I've been working with a lot of brick and mortar businesses, and it's almost what Mimi is alluding to in creating subscription models for businesses. For example, a bakery, if they only have their physical bakery during COVID lockdown, they probably would have earned no revenue whatsoever. However, because your bakery will only cater to, a 10-kilometer radius, nobody is going to travel 20, 30 kilometers to come buy bread. But if you have a subscription model, if you have a delivery model, you can now provide delivery, subscription of breads and delivery. So you're delivering 1 bread a week and you sell it at a lower price. But as a small business, you now know that when somebody subscribes, they're with you for 3 months, for 6 months. You know that you're earning less per product, per item. However, you have that long-term comfortability. You know that for the next few months, you're going to have that revenue. And I always make the difference, subscription and loyalty. Loyalty programs will say your customer pays full price for the next 10 items. Subscription, you give the discount in advance for the next 10 items. So you secure the deal for the next 10 weeks. And so thinking along those lines, long-term relationships, subscriptions if you can, and partnerships as well. We mentioned it earlier. Forming strategic partnerships, strategic alliances to ensure that you have a constant flow of new customers coming in is really what's going to help entrepreneurs navigate through this season.
Yeah. Diederik, there's a question here. Maybe you can help me take it.
Yes.
It's from Susan
Yes,
Susan
exactly.
Waniki on Facebook. She's asking, hi guys, how does one professionally manage to work from home basically without an office? Diederik, do you want to say how you've been working?
Yeah, no, I think what I find is very interesting is that she's asking also, like, especially as you're a business that has many calls, so you have a lot of client relations that are going from home. And I have to say that apart from one friend of mine where his boss actually starts shouting the moment that one of his kids comes into the screen, or there's even the slightest noise, everybody I know has been understanding. And I think that's at least that's my idea. Like, it's a sign of the times. Everybody knows this is not your ideal situation. If you could choose, you wouldn't have your kids shouting in the background while you're doing an important client call. But they have the same, and that empathy, I think, Naomi, that you mentioned earlier, I think that's really there. And just be upfront about it. Just say, look, I'm very sorry. I have a kid, and that there are childcare duties here, or somebody, you might hear a bit of noise. Really, it's not my ideal situation. And a client, I think they'll understand. And if they don't, I mean, you can't help everybody. I mean, that's my view, but I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, that was a random question, but we have one specific one here from Gustav. Let me pull it up. Gustav Skippers. He's asking, maybe Tania or Brett, you can take it since you're the experts on online business. They're asking, I'm currently doing surveys online or trying affiliate marketing to make some money, but it's a lot of work for little payment. Any suggestions for online business? Does anyone want to take that?
I think it ties back to what Mimi was saying earlier. I think, what she did was she found the platform that works for the product that she's selling or the service that she's selling. You, like Mimi, you said that you had tried Facebook, that didn't work, but Instagram hit the spot. I think, you're going to have to trial and error, work out try the different platforms that are available to you. As soon as you see something that starts to work, then start to focus on that. And to borrow some of the terminology in the industry, I mean, you got to constantly iterate on whatever it is that you're doing that's working, to see how you can manipulate or change that to hit the sweet spots and see what gives you the best results at the end of the day. Yeah.
Diederik, I see we have time for one more question. Do you have a question to ask?
I think I have one main question to ask, which is, we've been talking so much about change, and I think whenever we change something, and this is a question for all three of you, but whenever we change something, we need to think about, is it working, or do we need to change again? Do we need to change again? Do we need to change again? And how do you find that balance between, thinking of a new idea, bringing it into practice, and sort of checking if your idea is working or if you need to pivot again? And I think that's a question that I have for all three of you.
Okay, let me jump in.
Thank you.
What I've found with that is that like I said, it's a very exciting time, because everybody is going through everything that you are going through. So it's not like this is happening in Lagos and the person in South Africa doesn't really experience what I am going through. Me and my customer are going through the same thing. So there is no fear of failure, or let me say that the fear of failure is less, because we are all experiencing new things. So what I do is, when I have these ideas, I just jump in. I don't even think anymore. I just jump in, and then I start tweaking it as I go along. And I like what Tania said about trying it yourself, because I have sales reps. And what I did was, I decided to put my phone number there, and I decided to be the one doing the Instagram, so that I won't be yelling at people that, why are you taking so long on one transaction? This is just $5, because I realized that I can spend 2 hours discussing a $5 aloe vera plant. And I'm like, what is this? It's like, and will it do this? And will it do that? And what do I have to do? And I'm like, this is retail. This is what it takes to make this sale. But then again, I look at it the other way, that if I did 50 of these in one day, it's a lot of money. So I'm not looking at it as the unit of $5. I'm like, how many of these can we do in one day? So where maybe one transaction would have brought in that amount, we have to do 50 transactions. So that's it, and just getting my head around that.
Tania, would you like to jump in?
So for us, I think every business is different in terms of cycles and being able to validate a product or idea. But what we always do is from the beginning, when we're trying out a new idea, a new direction, we set key performance indicators. So basically metrics to help us know whether we're on the right track. And as you know, if you're just starting out, you're going to have to guess. And the more you do this, the more you'll kind of know where you're supposed to be at which time for your own specific business. So for us, for example, it could be the amount of leads that we're getting. It could be the amount of conversion per lead, right? And so it could be that every month, I'm going to check back and look, okay, how many leads did we get from this activity? How many leads converted? And then I'll monitor those statistics over time to see, is it going well or is it going completely not well? And the minute, the thing that, and that's the hard place is, as an entrepreneur, you have instinctively this thing to keep trying and to keep pushing. One lesson that I've learned is once you realize it's not working, throw it in the bin immediately. Don't try and force it. You know, it's the same as trying to put a square in a triangle hole. You don't push it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Put it aside. Work on the new idea. I think it's the whole thing of failing fast. You know, so go all in. And if it's not working, put it to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can jump in just to add to that, Tania, I think that what people need to do as well, if they can, is to A/B test things. So in other words, if they've got a way of being able to split out, if they've got an idea and they want to prove that idea, do a bit of a hypothesis and set up an A/B test where you try the idea here and you try a different price point here and see how that goes. And that's a quick way to be able to measure the pros and cons of each one and actually choose which way to go. There might be, after that, you might need to introduce a third option, or you might need to blend the two, at least by testing it and actually trialing it out with different pockets of your customers. That's probably the safest way. It's a somewhat cautious, but it's also a tested way of making sure that the assumptions you're making are actually being validated.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much wisdom said, and believe it or not, we have run out of time. Like I know it goes by so fast, and there's so much wisdom that all of you have shared. Maybe as your closing remarks, you tell us what would you like, just as your closing remarks, words of wisdom, anything you wish you knew, maybe you could tell us. We can start with Brett.
Wow. What can I tell you that I haven't already said? I think, just try and understand your customers and be able to provide a solution to a problem that they, have a product or a solution or a service that solves a need for your customers, and do it at a price point that's not going to chase them away. If you can do something cost effectively, I mean, per Tania's earlier example around, subscription services, there's a way of luring customers in at a low cost or a low price point that takes away any fear of engaging with you. Give them an easy way out if they don't like the service that you're offering or the product that you're selling. So I think just be very, especially at this time, I think make sure that what you're offering solves for a problem for the customer, and that you're doing it at a fair price. I think if you're too costly at this stage, I think you're going to suffer as a business.
Yeah, thank you, Brett, and thank you to the entire Zapper team. I believe we can follow you on social media, and it's a platform you should check out if you're based in South Africa. I believe. Thank you, and thank you for taking time, Tania.
Sure.
Yes. So for me, one tip I would give is don't compare someone else's tree with your seed. I think as entrepreneurs, when we're starting out, there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of, get rich quick plans. And sometimes when you're starting out, you feel discouraged because you're looking at someone else who seems like they started out yesterday, when in fact there's 5-10 years that happen in the background. So don't compare someone else's tree to your seed. Plant right now. I'm going to use Mimi's business. Plant right now. Do the hard work. Keep pushing and hold on.
Wow. Yeah, thanks for that, Tania. And I believe your social media are Nonzero Africa?
No, it's they can follow me, Tania Habimana.
Okay. follow Tania Habimana, and thank you for taking time, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. Mimi?
Well, my takeaway from this is just understand your customer. Know your customer, know what value you're bringing into their lives and what problem you're solving for them. So always have those conversations with them and always be ready to change when they want to change. So be very sensitive to the customer. That's what I would say right now.
Okay, thank you, Mimi, and I'll definitely be following Omar Gardens on Instagram. I know I'm not based in Lagos, to them virtually.
You can.
Thank you so much, Mimi, and Diederik, thank you for joining. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I think my closing remark is, as we're doing sayings, one of them is, if you don't shoot, you'll always miss. And I think that's important. Like, realize that you have to start trying this time. And yes, you may fail, but failing is always better than I think the alternative of not having tried at all. And I think that's something that we need to realize every day.
Okay. And thank you, Diederik, and thank you everyone online. Thanks for your comments. I see. I just want to give shout outs to our usual people who come online, and especially recognize LinkedIn people. So I see some questions on LinkedIn on how do we know about upcoming sessions. So like I said at the very beginning, we have these conversations, Africa Thrive Live, every single Thursday, whatever time it is you are now, if you're watching this live, but in Kenya it's 12 noon. West Africa time is 10 a.m. and South Africa time is 11 a.m. So please feel free to join us. I just want to give a shout out to Rachel Thomas, who asked that question. Thank you. How do we know of the upcoming sessions? I see Emma. I just want to give a shout out to everyone who wrote their comments, questions, feedback. Ilse, thank you for the enlightening discussion. Thank you all for joining us, and I want to just do a quick plug and thank all our guests, Zapper, Omar Gardens, Nonzero, as well as Diederik from Rwanda, who was able to join us today. So you can write to them on their social media or on their LinkedIns, and if you want to engage with AMI, like I said before, you could do that. Go to our website, africanmanagers.org. And I know we tried to sort of fit in this conversation about customers in a very short segment, but we have a free 2-week program that can help you with practical tools to help you think, other than going online, how can I talk to my customer? When was the last time you talked to them? Other than telling them buy this product, how can you begin to sort of engage them? And we'll give you those practical tools. So enroll for our bootcamp, Retool and Adapt. It will really equip you with the tools to be able to sort of champion your customer. So if you have any questions, please write to us. Thank you for your comments. You continue to write to us about, Naomi, we want to hear about this. We want to talk about this topic. Keep them coming. Let us know, what are you struggling with? What would you like to be addressed? What kind of guests do you want us to bring? So write to me. That's my email address, naomi@africanmanagers.org. It's always so much fun to get to read from you and sort of try and address the issues we have, because we are here to support you, like I said in the beginning. So thank you, and do have a lovely day. Till next Thursday, keep well, keep safe, and take care. Bye.